free office. Today's media briefing is related to the announcement by the Orange County Heroin Task Force. And at this juncture, I'd like to welcome our Mayor, Teresa Jacobs.
Thank you, Carol, and I want to thank the members of the task force that are standing behind me and those who couldn't be with us today. Each of you and your organizations has worked so hard, and though we are still obviously in the throes of this battle of an epidemic of heroin and opioid use and abuse, if it weren't for the collaborative efforts of the men and women and the organizations represented behind me, I can tell you this community would not stand a chance. But in the wake of Florida's epidemic, that was declared yesterday by the president and just recently by our governor, we here in Orange County, I'm proud to say, we're ahead of the game in that we came together collaboratively in 2015 to look at things that we believed that we could do across the board to take a really holistic approach towards addressing this challenge and this deadly addiction epidemic breaking out throughout the country, but here in Orange County as well. We called on a holistic approach, and we invited to the table the judiciary represented by Chief Judge Lawton. Judge Lawton, thank you so much for your leadership in this. We brought our treatment and addiction professionals, our healthcare and education community together, and of course we're going to hear in a minute from Barbara Jenkins, our superintendent, our mental health providers, and of course our front line of defense, and that is law enforcement from across the county, but especially Sheriff Demings and his officers, as well as Chief Mina, who's been an integral part of this. We've had FDLE represented through Bobby Banks, and we've really looked at all facets of how do we address this epidemic. And what we realized that law enforcement alone could not begin to defeat this problem. They have an important role to play. And we came up with 37 recommendations. One of the recommendations that was adopted this past year through the legislature and signed into law by the governor was to make fentanyl an illegal, illicit drug. And in fact, the language is so strong that drug dealers trafficking in fentanyl can be charged with murder if their drugs result in someone's death. A dramatic change from where we were just a year ago. We advocated for the passage of making Narcan or naloxone, both the same, they're the same ingredient, but making it available to citizens without a prescription. Prior to this, if somebody knew somebody with a drug problem and an opioid addiction and they were afraid they might overdose, they would have to go to their doctors to try to get a prescription. And it was a very unlikely scenario that people would actually go to a doctor to ask for a prescription. Now here in the state of Florida, because of the great work and advocacy of the task force as well as the response of the legislature and the governor, now any citizen here in the state of Florida, if they're worried that a friend, a neighbor, or a total stranger they might come upon is overdosing from heroin or opioids, they can go to a pharmacist and they can buy Narcan over the counter. So we've made a lot of progress in that regard. We've also equipped our law enforcement officers, both in the Sheriff's Office and OPD, with Narcan. All of them are driving around with Narcan, and just since we started this, over 100 lives have been saved. That's 100 times that we have an opportunity to not just save a life, but help people get on the track of recovery. We've implemented programs at our jail to help those that are addicted when they come in, to give them an opportunity to participate in a treatment program that involves an injection of Vivitrol on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis, but it also involves extensive counseling to help them deal with the strong power and the grip that opioids has on the brain. And we're seeing success there, and we're encouraged by that, but we're still seeing that in spite of our best efforts, while we see this problem growing throughout the country, we're still looking at probably about the same number of deaths we had as last year. Good news is we're not seeing the huge increase that some communities are seeing, but the bad news is we haven't turned the corner yet. We believe that one of the most important things that we can do, and that's what we're here to announce today, is to give the tools that we need to our citizens. Because, as I mentioned, all of the entities and all the people working behind me doing their best, they alone can't solve this problem. We need citizens engaged. We need parents to be talking to their children, their teenagers, about how dangerous it is to even try heroin once. We need people to be aware that the drugs that they're taking that they may not know have opioids in it may be cut with opioids. It's such an incredibly addictive drug that we need our young people to avoid it at all costs. We need people that are already addicted to know what resources are available and how they can reach out and get help. We need family members of those that are addicted to know what resources are out there. We need teachers, we need doctors, we need everybody to know all of the different ways that they can help those who are addicted, but even more importantly, that they can help be part of that message to avoid addiction and avoid the possibility of addiction by avoiding the use of opioids, heroin, fentanyl altogether. So with that, we are going to be introducing, or we actually have just rolled out our Be the Hero in Somebody's Story, Heroes Against Heroin toolkit. It's available on the internet, and we're going to have Carol Burkett come back up in just a few minutes, and she's going to walk through the website so that the public has an opportunity to understand what's available. But we want all of our citizens who are interested or concerned about this to take the time to look at the website, make yourself familiar with what's available, use it as you need to. And now it's my pleasure to introduce one of the co-chairs of our education and prevention subcommittees, and that is Barbara Jenkins, Dr. Barbara Jenkins, our superintendent of Orange County Schools, one of our heroes against heroin. Dr. Jenkins?
Thank you, Mayor. It's good to be here. I certainly was pleased and honored to be a part of this task force. I want to publicly thank the mayor for her vision of bringing a group together for this community and for caring enough about an issue before it became something on the forefront at a national level. Our mayor was on top of it, and so I certainly want to thank her on behalf of the committee members. So the subcommittee that worked on this actual website had a couple of things in mind. The Education and Prevention Subcommittee said we've both got to work on prevention as well as helping those who are already a part of the addiction, a part of the program. And so that website is really going to help any member of our community, both for preventative measures and for those who may be struggling with addiction or know of someone struggling with addiction. Let me also recognize my colleagues who were on that subcommittee. Dr. Jeff Goltz, Executive Dean at Valencia College, School of Public Safety, and I know he has a representative here from Valencia. Dr. Mary Beth Ehas, who was Vice President of UCF Student Development and Enrollment Services, and then the many community agencies and staff members that participated as well. A lot of thought, a lot of work, a lot of creativity and talent went into this website, Heroes Against Heroin. So a couple of things we want folks to be aware of. That drug that the mayor mentioned, naloxone, is something that can save a life. And so we want the general public to be aware of that. That information is provided on the website. But when it comes to young people, I have a student advisory council that came together. And in fact, David Siegel, who's very passionate about this issue, came and spoke to my advisory council, and they developed their own social media campaign because we have to attack this issue from all levels. And so they developed their own social media campaign and took it to their high schools, and they've had other issues and campaigns that they've been very successful with when they take it to social media. They will advance that campaign to our middle schools as well in this coming year, and it's called Too Smart to Start. And so our young people, our families, our teachers will all have access to so many tools in this toolkit that will help them beat this addiction, this horror of heroin addiction and opioid addiction that has come against our community and so many families. Now, while school-age children, the message we have for them is mostly preventative, I want to be very clear. Our young people are impacted negatively when adults suffer from addiction. And so we are all in on this campaign that the mayor has so ably put in place for our community. I think it's a good time for Carol to actually come back and preview what this website is all about. Prepare to be impressed. Heroes Against Heroin.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. And I was just going to ask if the mayor and our task force members would like to take a seat as we go through several of these pages. And we have a short clip of a video that we're going to show you. You've seen the landing page. We previewed that and the hard work of our subcommittee and some very creative UCF students that put that whole page together. It's something that's eye-catching, and I want to get right to this is, as already mentioned, this is critical information from education standpoint, information that we want to make sure is in the hands of our parents, family members, those at risk, our youth, young adults, so we can all be a part of this issue and learn how to combat heroin and the opioid epidemic. And I'm going to get started right with our Get Help page. And as you can see right at the top, we want those to know where to get help. And Heart of Florida United Way, that 211 information assistance line, is the easiest way we can tell our citizens where to go to get those treatment resources and information. You can call 211. You can go online and enter 211.org. You can chat. You can text. They give you so many media platforms to access that information, and we want that to be a focal point. We do have University of Central Florida has been a key partner with us, and they have launched their collegiate recovery community. So a place for those students in recovery, our young adults, where they can go and have a safe place to enjoy campus life and the community and spread that message of recovery and treatment does work. And then Narcotics Anonymous, as you can see, we need a place for those to go for support and family members as well. So this just gives you some resources, as well as the bottom, you'll see several tabs people can click on to find where help is located. From Central Florida Cares Health System, that is all of our Department of Children and Family funded providers. They can click on that and see what resources are available. We next go to treatment, and we've talked a lot about medication-assisted treatment, but some of our community members may not know what that is. So this gives you an explanation of what our Food and Drug Administration has classified as medication-assisted treatment, and it's just not medication. That behavioral therapy is so critical to someone getting better. These are the three medications, methadone, buprenorphine, and naltrexone, which we go by the brand name Vivitrol, that treat opioid and heroin addiction. This will give our citizens more information about each of these, as well as some of our federal documents that talk about the benefits of these medications and counseling that I know will be a benefit to family members. And as passionately as the mayor always talks about overdose prevention and naloxone and getting that in the hands, is this overdose prevention page. So people are more aware, how can I be a hero in someone's life? It is knowing the signs of a heroin overdose, and it's calling 911, and it's following those steps that dispatcher is going to tell you, and it's also now having the ability to get naloxone without a prescription, going to your local pharmacy, asking for that drug, and you can be that hero in your family member's life or in one of your loved ones' life. This page gives you a lot of information about naloxone, the types, how to get it, and then it also provides a very short video on how to use it. So we hope that we've covered every aspect of this, because we do know this saves lives and helps people get to those next steps, which is treatment and recovery. And lastly, our toolkit and resource page, as the mayor mentioned, and we previewed back in March, we have a hard copy of the Heroes Against Heroin Educational Toolkit that's been given out about 200 times in the community already. Now you can have this toolkit online. You still have the ability to request a free copy of it right at the top of the page. But if not, you can navigate through this menu and see what interests you. You want to learn more about heroin. I would ask everyone, if you haven't seen Chasing the Dragon, The Life of an Opiate Addict documentary, it is well worth the 45 minutes to watch this. We're going to show you just a brief clip right now from this documentary that tells you a little bit about this impact it can have on family members and friends.
Started taking 3 at a time, and then I was taking 4 at a time, and then I started taking
I became addicted that day. When you're getting high, it's not just a drug.
You're hooked.
And she was a convicted felon at the age of 18.
I had maggots in my leg.
Stealing from my family.
Married, mother of 3, and I'm stripping. It's not just a little pill. I started using heroin.
The same heroin that just killed me.
You can't go back and say I'm sorry.
And it will win.
It will get you. Her sister found her.
My daughter, she's dead.
These are real stories, real families that are impacted by this. This is appropriate for high school students and older, and it comes with a discussion guide. So not just a powerful video, but then opportunity to talk about the impact of this. And at the end of this, you're able to take that information and develop your own social media campaign, which our youth are so good at doing that. And then you can scroll down through fentanyl, learn more about what we've just heard our Public Safety Coordinating Council talk to, how deadly even a minute amount of fentanyl can be. Learning about Florida's naloxone law, we all have that ability to now to be that hero and go to our pharmacy and get naloxone and carry it with us. And then a multitude of educational lessons, and these are for our educators. Operation Prevent is a valuable suite of resources by DEA and Discovery Education. So we start early with middle school talking about this issue, talking about the science, how it affects our bodies, how it affects our brains, and what we can do to prevent this from ever starting. So we're thrilled with the multitude of resources our federal government has put out, that we've made it easy for our partners and our community members to click on and learn more. And very lastly is preventing drug use. These, again, are some great resources that have been tested and reviewed by our national partners that give parents quick references, how to start those conversations and continue that. Start early, can do this often, and continue this throughout their life. It will make a huge impact and prevent this deadly issue from continuing. So I want to thank all the certainly Mayor Jacobs, our Heroin Task Force members, the Education and Prevention Subcommittee, and the multitude of people that gave their expertise in putting this website together. And now I'll turn it over to Carrie Proudfit.
Thank you, Carol, for that preview of the website. This formally concludes the live broadcast portion that we have streaming on Orange TV. I would like to invite the task force members back up to join me for some potential question and answer with members of the press.